Good morning. I call this special Skagit County Commissioners to order. It is August 10th, 2017, little after 10:30 in the morning, and I am calling the Skagit County Commissioners Board to order. Commissioner Janicki is out today dealing with a family issue, and so that's why she's not here. So I'd like now to have the City of Sedro-Woolley call their meeting to order.
I call the meeting of the Sedro-Woolley City Council to order.
And the Port of...
And on behalf of the Port, I call the Port of Skagit special meeting to order.
Thank you. So with that, will please join me in a salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now I'd like to have introductions of people at the head here, starting down there with Brent. Introductions?
Oh, we're trading seats here in a moment, so there'll be someone here in just a moment. But hello, I'm Brett Sandstrom, City Council at large in Sedro-Woolley.
I'm Julia Johnson, Ward 4, Councilwoman, Sedro-Woolley.
Steve Umdahl, Port of Skagit, Commissioner, District 2.
I'm Bill Schuler, Port of Skagit, District 3.
Kevin Ware, Port of Skagit, Commissioner, District 1.
Ron Weiss, Skagit County Commissioner, District 1.
Ken Dahlstedt, Skagit County Commissioner.
Keith Wagoner, Mayor of Sedro-Woolley.
Brenda Kinzer, Sedro-Woolley City Council, Ward 3.
Chuck Owen, Sedro-Woolley City Council, Ward 5.
Jermaine Cornegay, Sedro-Woolley City Council, Ward 2.
And Peter?
I'm Peter Janicki.
Assistant Janicki.
Chris Steve, Director, Washington Department of Enterprise Services.
Patsy Martin, Port of Skagit, Director. Heather Anderson, Port of Skagit.
Aaron Burrow with the City of Sedro-Woolley.
Tim Holler, Skagit County Administrator. Mark Ryber, Director of Public Works, Sedro-Woolley.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, I'd like to welcome you all for being here for this special meeting. And has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? Any questions, additions, modifications? So with that, first on the presenters list is Patsy Martin. Just if you can.
Good morning. Again, I'm Patsy Martin, Director for the Port of Skagit. Thank you all for coming. This is another amazing day. This project, now that we call the Swift Center, has had an amazing history and amazing story. Three entities, the City of Sedro-Woolley, the Port of Skagit, Skagit County, have come together in partnership with Enterprise Services of the state of Washington to try to find a way to repurpose the former Northern State Hospital site into an innovative technology center. It's incredible. And I was just thinking back several years ago, a conversation between Jim Darling at Mull, Foster and Alongi and Commissioner Ware over at a small ports meeting started the whole idea of bringing people together, trying to study the site, figure out what it can be repurposed to do. And with all of that basic work, in partnership with the Janickis in trying to find a way to create a headquarters for their Omni processor and other research and development initiatives, has brought us here today. So it's phenomenal. That being said, there's still a lot of work to do to get it all put together, and I know you're going to hear from Peter and Susie and the city and county in a minute on some of the other work. I'll just tell you some of the pieces that we're working on. We've received 2 grants, one from the Pollution Liability Insurance Agency to work on figuring out a cleanup action plan to some petroleum contamination at the site. It's fairly limited, but we still need to clean it up. We're also received an Environmental Protection Agency grant from the federal government grant in the amount of $195,000 to work on developing a cleanup action plan for some solvents that were from a dry cleaning facility on the site. So that's moving ahead. We're also trying to understand the electrical system of the site and how that's going to work, the boiler system, which heats a lot of the building, and how that's going to work, and just working on general transition of what that site is going to be when it's turned over to the port, potentially June 30th, 2018. That's our big idea. Once it's turned over to the port, we expect to have Janikes on site and keep going on this innovation facility. I guess I just want to circle back, though, and thank all three entities and the state and the Janikes and the community at large for helping pull us all together so we can make something great for this valley, this region, the state, and the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Freiberg from the city of Sedro-Woolley.
Thank you, Commissioner Wiesen, Board of Skagit County and Sedro-Woolley City Council. Mark Freiberger, Director of Public Works for the city of Sedro-Woolley. I have a slide. Let's see if we can get that up. While he's looking for that, my part in this project has basically been supporting the partnership in making sure that the transportation infrastructure in the city of Sedro-Woolley is up to the task of supporting this exciting project that you've all been so heavily involved in bringing to pass. I don't see our technology.
That doesn't look like the right slide. Is that yours?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, thank you for helping with that. The Northern State site currently has a single access from Fruitdale Road in Sedro-Woolley from Highway 20. Let's see if my cursor will show up there. And the road passes the entrance to the Northern State site with a Y intersection at this location, and then continues on to the northwest and back to Highway 9 on a county part of Fruitdale Road. The road has been closed north of the Northern State site since 2013 due to a landslide. The city hasn't had funds available to repair that. The project that we are looking at completing to support this project is rebuilding Fruitdale Road, repairing the closed landslide area, putting a new roundabout intersection in at the entrance to Northern State, and doing some work to add a shared use path and a sidewalk where they're not existing currently from Fruitdale, along Fruitdale to the site. This will connect both the motorized and non-motorized system for Sedro-Woolley to that site and make it adequate for the additional traffic that we expect will be generated as the site develops with the projects. The status of the project, the design for this roadway is complete. By the way, the partnership, the port, the city, and Skagit County banded together to fund the design phase for the road. That is complete. We do need funding for the construction phase. We are applying for a Transportation Improvement Board grant on August the 18th. The grant application is essentially complete. The total project cost for this rebuild of the road is $2.5 million. The construction work is about $1.9 million. We'll be asking from TIB about that amount of money because we've met the match requirements already with the design work that we have already completed. The permitting for the project is very near to being complete. I expect it to be complete by August the 18th. We'll submit the grant application, and assuming that we do score adequately, and this is the second try at this. We tried last year. We would have received funding at that time, but for a larger area project that basically took up all of the TIB funds for our region. But this is a strong contender. The economic development aspects of this, which TIB is very interested in supporting, are extremely strong. And especially with what Peter is going to share a little later, that case is even stronger now, and we're guardedly optimistic that this will be funded, and we will bid it in January and then construct it from June to November of next year. So that's that for the road.
Thank you. Next, we have Tim Holleran.
Commissioners, council members, and mayor. What a partnership. First off, I want to thank everyone. I guess I really, really want to thank the state for pulling us all together. Peter was sharing today that he's been in other communities where, for some reason, the cities and the counties don't get along. This is a perfect example of how it can work together. I want to thank you for your leadership. I'm here speaking on behalf of North Sound Behavioral Health Organization. As you know, the partnership group hired Strategies 360 Group, Al Aldridge, to advocate for a change in the system and how we help our young people. The opioid epidemic is unbelievable, and we don't use the word epidemic lightly. If you saw the news last night, Snohomish County had 37 overdose cases in 7 days. And I think if we really dig deep here in Skagit County, in the 5-county region, we're going to find the same thing. So the system's got to change. The good news is North Sound and the partnership group, we've done a lot of studies. We've looked at models that we believe works. The people in Olympia heard us, and they want to fund it. Right now in the current capital budget, which has not been approved, as we all know, it hasn't been approved because we're trying to figure out some sort of an agreement on the Hearst decision. That's a very complicated issue. But the placeholder in the capital budget right now for Snohomish County, there's a facility adaptations to the Denny Youth Center for a substance use facility. There's $5 million for one renovation, another $5 million for another. There's money for Bellingham Mental Health Triage, $5 million, and Bellingham Acute Detox, another $2 million. Those are actually approved in the budget. Now, you don't hear anything about Skagit County in there because Skagit County doesn't have a site or a plan approved yet. And I guess that's the challenge I have for this entire group. We have to find appropriate sites, which is a very difficult thing to do with the zoning. But there's a pool of money we can compete for. If we site it, we have money to purchase a site. If we can purchase a site and put a plan together, we can compete for that pot of money. I think people are optimistic that eventually the capital budget will be approved. In Skagit County, there's 3 pieces that we're looking for. One is the stabilization campus. That's intensive inpatient care. There's 16 beds for evaluation and treatment facility, 16 beds for acute detox, and then 16 beds for triage. So that would be, the projected cost of that would be $13.8 million. We're looking at a tri-county facility somewhere on either the west side of Skagit County or towards the islands that would treat the Anacortes community proper, the islands, and that's about an 8-bed facility. That's $5.1 million. There are conversations with the Swinomish tribe to see if we can partner with them on that facility. Then there's a recovery campus, and that's where you have co-occurring conditions where people get outpatient treatment. You co-locate housing there, permanent supportive housing, and you have mental, dental, and support services to that nature. So those are 3 pieces. We have, essentially, we need to site it on like 4 to 5 acres. Each of the larger facilities. The big thing with the stabilization campus, that's where you get the intensive inpatient care. It's kind of what Pioneer Center North is right now. We're trying to transition that off our campus. People don't come and go. They get treatment. They're there for 7 to 11 or 14 days, something like that. And then they're transitioned to another program. The recovery campus is key to a lot of this. A lot of the homeless people you see out there, they need that permanent supportive housing. Skagit County invited the Mount Vernon City Council, and the commissioners went up with other partners to take a look at what they have in Bellingham. 50 to 75 units. It's the people who need to get off the street that need a roof first. The concept is they need housing first, then they get the treatment. And it seems to be working well in Bellingham. So again, my challenge to this group is if you think there's a site out there that's good, call me, call Joe Valentine, call any of the partners. We need to find a site for Skagit County for these 3 locations.
You're talking about anywhere, not a site anywhere that would work.
Right. There is certain criteria. It's better if it's on a bus line. It's better if it's near the hospital. But again, the stabilization campus, it's at Northern State right now. It can be just about in any community. Most of the time, it's the law enforcement officers bringing people there. So you want it fairly close to a major corridor. The recovery housing, we looked at a lot of sites in South Mount Vernon. And, I think the response is, why does Mount Vernon take everything? Well, most of the services are here in Mount Vernon. When you take a look in Snohomish County, most of those services are in Everett, in the county seat. That's where the services are. When you look in Whatcom County, most of those services are in Bellingham. It makes sense if we could work with the Mount Vernon City Council and leadership to try to locate something in the Mount Vernon area for the recovery housing, recovery campus. Again, I'm a layperson, I'm an administrator. I can just tell you I'm very, very passionate about this. We all know people that are impacted by the drugs that are on the street. It's an epidemic. We don't use that word lightly. And we need to change the system. North Sound has a proposed system that'll change. The state is embracing that. Once we get the capital budget approved, we'll have facilities in Snohomish and Whatcom and in Skagit. If we get our act together, find a location and put a plan together, then we can compete for those funds. Otherwise, our law enforcement officers will be driving people to Snohomish or Whatcom County, and that's not very efficient. It doesn't help for the family network that supports them. So, sorry to go on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Peter Janicki.
Whoops. Let's see. Get to the beginning. There we go. Okay, well, thank you for having me here. This is kind of exciting because I got a lot going on, and so maybe I can share some of these things. I know it's been kind of quiet. I haven't had a lot of interaction with a lot of you, so this will be kind of fun to have a little update. We're all aware of this machine. This is a machine we built a few years ago. It's in West Africa. The amazing thing about this particular machine is it runs like 90% of the time, every day. My crew hasn't been there in almost 2 years. And we monitor it from Sedro-Woolley via the internet. We've trained a crew there, and they just run it. And let me show you we built the second machine in Sedro-Woolley. I think some of you saw this machine. After a lot of dialogue with the Gates Foundation and our customers in West Africa, we have taken this machine apart and we have built a new machine in its place that has a whole bunch of new features. One of the big issues was the engines. We made a steam engine out of a Cummins engine, and the foundation and us have done a tremendous amount of work in taking this engine to really a commercial engine. and I'll show you some slides here in a minute, but it wouldn't fit in this box. And then we also upgraded the boiler and a whole bunch of different things. So this is what the new machine looks like. And if you drive by Sedro-Woolley, you'll see this thing coming together right now. And it's really exciting because this thing is like totally automated. All of the cleaning and all of that stuff is completely computer controlled. It's got video cameras everywhere. And it produces about 5 times the electricity and solids as the original machine did. So it's just turned way up, which is kind of cool. Here's some pictures of it actually going together. If you were to go walk by our offices, there's the boiler coming in place, dryer, steam filters. This is the gen set. So this is really cool. I mean, this is something I wanted to do clear back in like 2000, is build a modern steam engine that has, all of the electronics and the speed controls. And it shows up, it looks almost like a diesel generator, only it runs on steam instead of diesel. And it's kind of cool. And we actually have ordered 6 of these engines. So we have one that's going to go to the machine that's already in Africa, 2 on the new machine. Then there's a machine that we are supervising an organization in India to build, and we'll have engines for that. And so anyway, we're doing all this engine stuff, which is really cool. These engines are something, though, that I could see being built in Sedro-Woolley long term. Okay, I mean, this is one of the things that we may end up building right at the Swift Center. Is we would have an assembly line. We may procure a lot of the components out of Detroit, but a lot of the components would be built, and we certainly would be doing assembly and all of that testing right in Sedro-Woolley. So that would be really neat. This is what they look like in their package. And this is the project schedule for that first machine going to Dakar. Now, in West Africa right now, Sarah's not here today, our president, because she's in West Africa, and she's meeting with all of these different donors. So basically, almost every donor nation, like Sweden and England and Germany and USAID from the United States, and then all of the big foundations, they're having a conference there, and the whole purpose of the conference is to figure out how to get this technology propagated through West Africa. And they're all very, very excited. So that's something I don't really show in my sales forecasts, is all of those machines that we're going to have to build and ship to West Africa. And not just West Africa, South America, all over the place. But, that is moving forward. I get a little bit frustrated with the pace that some of these foundations move at. And so I've just kind of taken that off my sales forecast. But sooner or later, that is going to hit home. And we're going to actually have to build all that equipment. This is a slide that I showed in India about a year ago. And it's interesting because I actually kind of work on the aerospace side. And if you look at the last 100 years in aerospace, it's kind of amazing. They flew the first airplane, what, in like 1904, something like that, to get that right? And you look at the planes that we had during World War II, they were amazing. There were people that saw from the beginning to the end of that. And then you look at what happened after the war, all the way to the lunar landing, and, it's just, you see this evolution that's happening at this breathtaking pace. And then you look at sanitation. These are actual photographs. So that first photograph was actually taken in like 1905 or something, okay? The next one's like 1950, and the next one I actually found a photo of a sewer treatment plant that was built like in the last 2 years. They look exactly the same, okay? We figured out how to do basically biological breakdown of sewage 100 years ago. And other than maybe some pumps and some aeration technology, nothing has changed. It's staggering to me. It is incredible to me. And a really interesting thing, if you think about recycling and nutrients and all that stuff. So ammonia is, and urea are the basic nitrogen fertilizers. And we make it from natural gas. So the way we do that is we need a nitrogen molecule. And where do we get a nitrogen molecule? We get it out of the air. So we cryogenically freeze air, and we take the nitrogen and the oxygen, release the oxygen to the environment. We have nitrogen. Okay? Super energy intensive. Then we need hydrogen molecules. ammonia is NH4, or NH3, excuse me. So I need 3 hydrogen molecules. Where do I get it? Natural gas. Natural gas is CH4. So we take natural gas, we steam strip it, and we get the hydrogen out of it. We combine those 2 things to make ammonia. So we're taking massive amounts of natural gas, massive amounts of electricity to make ammonia fertilizer. And it goes on our farms, it goes on our fields, it goes everywhere. It ends up in our food, and it all ends up in the wastewater treatment plant. Then what do? We spend phenomenal amounts of money, and the only purpose is to destroy the nitrogen. Okay, so we buy all this electricity, and the whole purpose is to destroy the nitrogen so it can't be released back to the environment. So you have 2 groups of people get up every morning. One group is making nitrogen in a very energy-intensive, fossil fuel-intensive way, and another group that's destroying nitrogen in a very energy-intensive, fossil fuel-intensive way. And that's what we do, and everyone says that's okay. So we're doing all of this work with the Gates Foundation, and it's all going great, but we also wanted to be able to do some stuff that's independent of the foundation, that has no licensing or IP issues with the foundation. So we invented a new technology, I think, since the last time we talked, and it's called an advanced vapor recompression distillery. And basically what we do, I have a little diagram that shows you how this thing works. So try to get your head into this thing, because it's really cool. Okay. Basically what we do in the red box is we boil liquid, okay? And that liquid can have anything in it. It can have petroleum products in it, it can have ammonia in it, it can have cow manure, it can have anything you can imagine in it. It doesn't matter, okay? We can boil anything. So we boil it, and your brain should be saying, okay, if I boil millions of gallons of liquid, that would take a tremendous amount of energy. And you should say, that can't work, okay? But actually, there's a little thermodynamic trick here that we play that actually allows us to do it with very little energy. So what we do is we take that steam that we generate, that we've invested a lot of energy into, and we compress it to a slightly higher pressure, which is what's happening in this box right here. Now the steam is at a higher temperature and pressure. We can run it through the distillery and separate out the ammonia. We can separate out the clean water. And then we take that vapor and we use it to heat the original material. It gives up all the energy that we invested. And now we have water leaving, and that water comes out as clean water. So that's the path, and we can get into the more details, but it works, okay? And so there's a million applications for this, and this is something that we're seeing huge interest in. First of all, the obvious one is dairy farms. And we're working with lots of people. I don't know if you've been watching the news and what we're doing in the whole dairy industry at the state level, but there's a lot of stuff happening on the dairy industry side because it fundamentally solves their problem. It takes their manure and turns it into water that's clean enough for the cows to drink, makes the farm a zero discharge farm. There's no more lagoons. There's no discharge to the environment. We recycle all of the nutrients back to organic nutrient quality that are shippable and transportable. So now the farmer can actually ship his nutrients from Mount Vernon all the way to Southern California, okay, where there's markets for it. Dry solids, we take all of the dry material and we turn it into a powder like potting soil. And then, of course, this is what phosphorus looks like when we mine it out of the earth. Okay, it's a pretty limited commodity. Actually, you should do a little study on phosphorus. You realize that we'll run out of phosphorus before we run out of anything else. And then, of course, all these storage lagoons, I don't know what they're going to do with them. Turn them into swimming pools or something because they're going to have clean water in them. And then, of course, this is not even complete. We have virtually hundreds of supporting groups. And a lot of times you don't see these same groups on the same sheet of paper because then a lot of these people don't like each other very much. Okay? So it's a great thing to be able to get them all supporting one common cause. Let me talk about another project is this toilet. It's something I'm super, super excited about. So all of these porta potties that you see and the way we do toilets in America doesn't even make sense, okay? So this toilet looks about the same size as a normal toilet. It's going to have a little back that's maybe about this tall and about this wide, about that deep. And inside of it, but there's no plumbing. You just plug it into the outlet. That's all you do. You just plug it in. And you can put it in a house, you can put it in a porta potty, and it only burns about 20 watts of electricity, less than a light bulb. And it's got a super low flush container in it where we put like maybe a quarter of a cup of water and spray it. Then there's fans that exhaust out. It tips over, it cleans itself, it sprays itself, it flips back up, and then it processes the material. And we actually burn the biomass that's generated. The water that we use to flush the toilet comes from the human that went to the bathroom in the toilet. We distill that water all the way to clean it up to flush with, and we concentrate the ammonia that's in the urine so that that water can't grow bacteria, which is really cool. So all of that is totally self-contained. The only thing you're going to have is a little glass jar that you have to empty ash maybe, I don't know, once every couple of months. And we got all this working, which is amazing, okay? So here's a picture of the firebox. It took us about 2 years to make a fire out of this biomass that was no bigger than the end of your thumb that burns with emissions that are as clean as anything we've ever done. So I actually have a video of this little firebox.
It's amazing, isn't it amazing?
So this is all computer controlled, self-feeding. We're monitoring the oxygen, we're monitoring the nitrogen, monitoring temperature. Anyway, cool. One other technology, and I can't get into all the details of where we're going to use this, but this is just so fun, I got to show it to you, okay? So this is a little steam engine that we've built that produces about a half a horsepower and is, well, let me just show you the video of it running. So we just recently got this going. Even sounds like a steam engine, doesn't it? So my vision of that is, of course, this thing was very expensive to build, but I want to try to build these for about $2,500. That's my goal, is to be able to have them for sale for about $2,500. And you would use them all over the world for power generation, burning predominantly garbage. And the garbage that you would burn, the main garbage that I want to burn is polyethylene, which is plastic, right? So when you go to the grocery store and you get all this plastic, okay, it's polyethylene. And once again, your brain's saying, well, that burns really dirty. But actually, plastic burns super, super clean, because polyethylene is 2 carbon molecules surrounded by some hydrogen, okay? Methane, which is natural gas, we all know natural gas burns really clean, right? It's just 1 carbon. So then you got 1 carbon, natural gas. Then you have ethylene, which is 2 carbons. Then you have propane, which is 3 carbon molecules, okay? Ethylene's right smack in between. Okay? So when you think of a piece of plastic, okay, you should be thinking, I'm burning somewhere between propane and natural gas. I'm sitting right between them, okay? And we can get the same kind of energy, same kind of cleanliness. And so instead of all this plastic going into the environment, into the ocean, going everywhere, we're going to actually create a valuable commodity, and we can burn stuff that's soiled. It doesn't have to be clean. It doesn't have to be virgin. Anyway, another project. To summarize, I have one last slide. This is a little bullish, but that's kind of how I operate. This is what we think our sales revenue is going to be at Janicki Bioenergy over the next couple of years, okay? And to get that in perspective of number of employees, so this year we're doing about $14 million worth of work. In order to get the work done that we have lined up for next year, we need to do about $25 million in sales. And then we expect it to ramp up at about this rate. We currently have about 50 full-time employees there. Today, we have 50 full-time employees. I would expect that we're going to be, pushing 75 to 100 sometime next year. And by the time we get to the end of this chart, which is not very far away, we're going to be somewhere between 600 and 800. So that's what we expect. And sooner or later, we're actually going to have a home. I'm living in a trailer, with my guys working out in the parking lot. That's not going to work forever. I think I'm done.
Wow. Any comments, any questions?
A big wow. How about that?
I can listen to him all day long.
It's really enjoyable to hear you come and speak to us, and I do appreciate all you are able to do, and it's just great things. I know your comments earlier today, you talked about local government not getting along, some of the different meetings you had, and I think that's one thing I, as a county commissioner, we've tried to do here at Skagit County, because we are so small, our local, we know everybody, and so that's one thing, we have a unique thing, but as the population keeps growing, the tendency may be to change, and I think that's one of the issues you have when you have larger populations in the area. But right now, we know, I went to school with Keith, I mean, just we know everybody, and so we have a different relationship here, and I think we need to capitalize on that for these great projects. So once again, thank you very much for all you've been able to do, and it looks great. Thank you.
We're totally in your corner, Peter. We really are. And if there's anything that we can do, you can ask, and if we can do it, we will.
Well, I feel kind of bad because, I'm working with a lot of other government organizations, and they actually move really damn slow. And so it's easy for me to stay ahead of them, okay? In this group, I'm struggling to get the business ahead of you guys. I mean, you got everything all set up at the, board. I'm like, I got to get my act together if I'm going to stay ahead of this one.
You're the key to this, in my opinion, you're the key to this whole project.
Thank you, but I'm sure that's true.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Valerie Smith with the Governor's Award presentation.
All right, thank you. Again, I'm Valerie Smith with the Department of Commerce. I'm a senior planner over there, and thanks for having us. We're really happy to be here. The Washington State Department of Commerce is pleased to present this award today for the Sub-Area Plan and Planned Action EIS Center of Innovation and Technology, also known as the Northern State Hospital. On behalf of Governor Jay Inslee, this award highlights the governor's commitment to preserving and protecting Washington's excellence in quality of life. It recognizes the hard work of our citizens, businesses, and local officials to make sure we have a clean environment, a healthy economy, and high-quality communities. All the attributes that make our great state a wonderful place to live, work, and play, and help us continue attracting top talent and business from around the world. When a community comes together, establish and carry out its vision for the future, it can attract high-quality jobs and community improvements that benefit all of its residents. Today we are celebrating an effort by the City of Sedro-Woolley, Port of Skagit, and Skagit County, who formed public and private sector partnerships to transform a 100-plus-year-old former sanitarium into a center for technology innovation. Over the last 40 years, the historic campus has fallen into decline. A sub-area plan and planned action EIS were prepared to establish a framework for revitalization. The Center for Innovation and Technology Sub-Area Plan is a model of public-private partnerships applying planning tools to establish a framework for implementation of a community vision, transforming a constrained, underutilized property into a community asset. The Sub-Area Plan is focused on the former Northern State Hospital campus, a 225-acre state-owned facility originally designed by the Olmsted Landscape Architecture firm. The Northern State Hospital served as a sanitarium from 1912 to 1973. The campus housed medical facilities and residences in the Spanish colonial revivalist buildings. The City of Sedro-Woolley, the Port of Skagit, and Skagit County formed a partnership to chart a new course for this landmark property. This planning process has been a model of good governance with unprecedented coordination and contributions from the 3 core partners and multiple departments of Washington State. The community, which holds a special connection with the property, actively participated in the planning process and gave substantive, productive input. The resulting sub-area plan and planned action EIS establishes the regulatory framework for successful redevelopment that protects historic and natural resources while allowing for new development. As we just heard from Peter, there's a local company producing innovative technologies to address sanitation challenges in developing countries, embracing the vision for future of the property, and is in the process of establishing their headquarters on the campus. The implemented public participation plan provided numerous opportunities and multiple avenues for community members and key stakeholders to express their concerns. The plan was innovative, thorough, and meaningful. The planning process utilizes 3 levels of engagement, with a core group of project partners, a wider advisory group that included over 20 representatives of community groups, property tenants, and federal, state, and local governments. Open house meetings formatted to be inviting to the whole cross-section of the local community, and this is a tiered structure that allowed the process to address issues at the appropriate level of detail with the right people at the table. A meaningful process and evaluation of key community concerns included economic development, public access to the site, preservation of historic character, and protection of a fishing pond. These concerns became the lenses through which success of the project was measured. In particular, reestablishing public access indicated to the community that the purpose of the sub-area plan was to create a public asset, providing economic, environmental, and recreational benefits to the community. Up until the sub-area plan was adopted, the use of the property was not in alignment with the historic design and was closed to the public. The sub-area plan's policies and design guidelines ensured that this will not happen again. The sub-area plan is an example of city-county coordination to efficiently manage development within an urban growth area. The Northern State Hospital site was located within the city of Sedro-Woolley urban growth boundary, but outside the municipal boundary. While located in the county jurisdiction, vehicular accessibility to the site was city streets and through residential neighborhoods. The Growth Management Act provided the framework in which to create the means and integrate annexation with the sub-area plan development and integration with the existing comprehensive plan framework. Development and approval of the planned action EIS will help ensure smooth project implementation while addressing local development concerns. The award judges also noted the historic preservation and economic development efforts of the plan. Many communities are in the middle of the transition from historic industries to the 21st century economy. In particular, communities that grew up around the primary large employer, like Northern State Hospital or lumber mills, are still home to many of the people who work there and saw the community develop and flourish. Often there is a desire to retain the memory of that use, for while the jobs may be gone, the people remain. Therefore, it is becoming increasingly important to meld the objectives of economic development and historic preservation so that new industries can bring new jobs to the community without making it unrecognizable to the very people who founded it. The Center for Innovation and Technology sub-area plan is an example to other communities of how this can be done through effective public participation and institutional partnerships. The team first went to the public to identify and define what success of the project meant and was able to prioritize the public's most valued historic elements. The judges called this plan a very smart plan, a great example of visioning, community outreach, and good planning. They noted the implementation strategies and gave a thumbs up. The effort to redevelop the former state hospital has been led by an unprecedented level of collaboration among the City of Sedro-Woolley, Skagit County, and Port of Skagit, and the Washington State. As we see here today, City, County, and Port elected officials have entered into a series of intergovernmental agreements that clearly identify the goals for development and commitment to staff and financial resources. At key milestones over the course of this effort, the elected bodies of the City, County, and Port have held joint meetings, which is unprecedented and highly effective. Following the direction of the elected officials, the management and staff of the public agencies have worked collaboratively and diligently to address the complex challenges posed by redevelopment of this property. The Olmsted brothers originally laid out the 1912 site, and the challenge was reestablishing concept elements lost in the intervening years since closure while permitting new construction activity at the site. Design guidelines were drafted to ensure that renovation of the existing buildings and new public structures would be carefully integrated with the historic designation district. The intent of the guidelines is to protect the historic character of the district designation. The City of Sedro-Woolley established a partnership with Skagit County and the Port of Skagit to revitalize this public asset. Through this extensive community planning process, the partnership established a common vision to promote development of a destination, mixed-use campus accommodations for education, research, and development, manufacturing, hospitality, and commercial venues, all within the historic character and great public spaces of the center. On behalf of Governor Inslee, I thank you for your hard work and innovation and an amazing model of intergovernmental partnerships, historic preservation, economic development. Top-notch work and commitment by many partners working together. So congratulations to City of Sedro-Woolley, Port of Skagit, Skagit County, the consultant group of Mull, Foster, and Alongi, and the Washington State Department of Enterprise Services.
All right, let's give ourselves a hand.
I was going to hand out the awards, and then we will do the pictures and stuff afterwards.
Sounds good.
After, okay. This is for City of Sedro-Woolley.
That's you, Scott.
Oh, thank you so much.
There you go. There's this.
It is. Nice.
Jermaine.
Put it on your desk.
This one is for Skagit County. Last but not least, support. That's this one. Okay, there you go. And this is for you.
Thanks, Mother.
And then I also have awards for, like I mentioned, the consultant team of Mull, Foster, and Alongi, and the Washington State Department of Enterprise
That's a
Services.
special award. Hard to get, a particular one.
And like she mentioned earlier, we'll get photographs and so forth after we get off camera. Once again, thank you very much for the awards. It's a very honor, and I think it was a great team, whoever, with the 3 different elected groups. And I also want to make sure we thank our administrators, Aaron Berg from Sedro-Woolley, Tim Holler from Skagit County, and Patsy Martin with the Port. I think they did a great job and a great effort to put this together. And of course, us as elected officials definitely had to give them good direction and give them the authority to make the job done. Any other comments from the electeds here?
Yeah, I'll let Jermaine go first for us.
I also wanted to thank Ann Sweeney, who I don't see here today. I don't know why, but I just wanted to thank her as well.
Good point.
She's been amazing.
Yeah, that's well-deserved, thanks. She was on speakerphone with us at a pre-meeting. So for the City of Sedro-Woolley, much has been said about what a great cooperative group that we've had, and it's been great, but I want to thank my city council, because mayors don't do things on their own. They do things when they're well supported, and the council has supported us so well. They've had vision, and they've allowed us to move forward with our partners. And I want to thank Chris especially, because it's natural for we locals, as Ron pointed out earlier, we all know each other, so we get along, and we all have good intentions for our home because it's here. You're from Olympia, and you provided the horsepower and also, I think, a lot of compassion for our community to make this happen. And I wish there was a seat that we could seat you way up here above us, because you're just a great person, and it wouldn't have happened without you. Thank you.
Anything in the Port?
Well, I think on behalf of the Port of Skagit, I think this is a shining example of how your government should work, and I'm very honored and pleased to be able to work with also the elected official and all those representing the 3 entities. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Dolson?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to all the people. You know, it was a huge partnership. It always takes more time when you bring that many people together, but I think with Chris Liu and Ann Sweeney and the work they did at Enterprise Services, but certainly the governor, if the governor wasn't supportive of this, we wouldn't have been moving forward at all. And one of the greatest champions of the whole process is Senator Kirk Pearson. If he hadn't provided the leadership necessary in the legislature, we wouldn't be here today talking about this. And I think he did a great job along with some of the others that are there. But, you know,